Fortnite just officially kicked off the massive final event with an insane new teaser trailer. We finally have a sneak peek at exactly what's going down before Season 2 drops. And today, I'm breaking down every single juicy leak and teaser you need to know about. So, a couple of days ago, we got an event calendar that had a date circled with the Seven's logo. And honestly, we had no clue what they were cooking up. But finally, after a whole day of waiting, the official Fortnite accounts showed us the roadmap to the end of Season 1. As you can see, a bunch of messages are popping up, and they all connect back to the final event, the Seven, and the game's overall story. Let's go through these one by one. It all starts on March 7th with the Ordnance Deployed phase, which should see the Seven's current crew getting ready to throw down against the Dark Voyager's ship. I think this is directly linked to the weekly quests we're grinding right now, which are all about the OG Mode's visitor, who by the way landed weeks ago in his rocket and is now just chilling out. These quests ask us to do a few things, but once you crush them all, we'll basically be building a base for the Seven. Thing is, you can't actually complete them 100% until this coming Thursday, which unlocks Phase 6. That's why I think next last update of the season will bring it. They should be implementing that new location for the Seven I mentioned, similar to what they did last week with Jones's quests, where we had to clean up an area, and then a week later it turned into the visitor's landing spot. On top of that, this supposed update should also drop the Seven's weapon and some other narrative goodies tied to these phases we're checking out. Next up, Saturday, March 8th, is the It Returns phase. To get this, we gotta look at the leaked files from the last update, which pretty much confirmed the Voyager's ship is going to peace out from the map at some point. So, this phase is self-explanatory. That's the day it's coming back. For those of you who aren't glued to the lore, the Dark Voyager's trips are all about visiting dead universes, hunting for fragments of the Zero Point to complete the epicenter at the labs. This new trip is going to be for bringing back one more piece. On March 9th, we get the It Begins phase, which is a follow-up to the last one. Leaks showed this ship is going to fire at the Zero Point to try and destabilize it, and this phase is going to stick around for a few days. Then we jump all the way to March 12th for Wave 1, where the Zero Point will be 60% destabilized. We're skipping the 20% and 40% phases, because those would happen on the 10th and 11th. But they're not detailed since the laser will probably have the same juice as the first day. The 60% phase is supposed to mean an energy boost in the shot. March 13th is Wave 2 with 80% destabilization, so expect the laser to crank up a little more than the day before. And finally, on March 14th, we hit the last phase, Prepare for the Final Wave. This is where we'll see the Zero Point completely destabilized, hitting 100%. The result? 3 portals are gonna bust open, showing where the final 3 fragments needed to complete the Zero Point are hiding. Side note, it looks like Fortnite might have confirmed one of these locations early with this teaser you're seeing. It clearly shows an area that's totally frozen, which is a direct link to the Ice King. In theory, he's going to be a boss in Season 2, and this would naturally be his turf. Anyway, back to the phases. We fast forward to Wednesday, March 18th, the day before the new season, which is called Mission Recap. I'm expecting a Season 2 story trailer, or maybe a cinematic, kinda like the Dago one, that just gives us a tiny taste of what's coming in the main trailer the next day. But regardless, I think we'll get a cinematic for sure. I don't see us doing anything with the open portals, or taking on the Dark Voyager just yet. I think that whole showdown is going to be a long haul. So then we hit the final phase on March 19th, Priority. Locate the Foundation. Since this lines up with the start of Season 2, this will probably be the title of the new season story trailer, which will make it clear that the main mission is finding the Foundation, the leader of the Seven. That's just for the story, obviously. As for the game itself, we're getting a ton of changes. New weapons, new mechanics, and map changes. Probably the ones I mentioned that are caused by the portals. We'll likely also see more zones tied to the Seven, like bases or outposts. The current storyline for this chapter is giving me major deja vu to the war between the Imagined Order and the Seven back in Chapter 3. But this time, like they've hinted for months, it's the Seven versus the last reality. But back to the season right around the corner. First, we gotta find the Foundation, and we don't know if it'll be the one we know from Chapter 3, or a remix from the OG universe, since the call is coming from the new OG visitor. The same call actually has a secret Morse code message that spells out the hidden phrase, Foundation. Do you copy? We don't just hear that secret message. At the end of the call, we hear the visitor's voice telling the Foundation, sometimes destiny is inevitable.
Sometimes fate is inevitable.
To wrap up all the info related to this Season 1 finale event, there's one more leak confirming that the Foundation is getting a new skin. So, like I said, it's probably going to be an OG mode remake. The new skin is definitely coming in Season 2, and the question is whether it'll be in the Battle Pass or saved for the end of the season. Speaking of collabs, the latest update also included files for Game of Thrones skins, so those should be hitting this season too. And finally, we've got a Puma collaboration that isn't complete yet, and is supposed to be finished in the next update, which should drop next week. All that, plus a few surprise collabs, is the content we have left this season, which is slowly but surely winning people over with the story they're telling. Actually, if you missed it from the beginning, I recommend checking out this breakdown of the whole season's lore. When we first arrived on the island, our only leads involved Hope and Jones investigating the potential location of the remaining fragments, while simultaneously, Inaloops was conducting studies on the specific shard that transported us from the previous reality to the Golden Coast. Concurrently, we are introduced to a new character named Karina, who has dedicated herself to compiling intelligence on Inaloops. Her reconnaissance has uncovered significant revelations, including the fact that the 0 point is intrinsically linked to the 7, and that Hope and Jones are deeply entrenched in this investigation. She is also astute enough to realize that they maintain a significant lead over her in terms of knowledge. Through all these investigations regarding the fragment, we have discovered that the Order has been residing on this island since before our arrival. The mission report reveals that while she was observing the fallout of the battle for Reality 783, she intercepted a distress signal from Agent Jones. She questions how much time has passed and notes that they have a significant amount to discuss. She wagers that the 0 point is involved, as her preliminary analysis detects a massive surge of energy from it, though she requires more data to formulate a complete evaluation. After nearly a month passed, we witnessed progress in her operation thanks to a new voice logs, where she expresses concern over a specific anomaly. She notes that while the reality feels incredibly familiar, something is fundamentally wrong. The reason she suggests is that the fragment is broken, which is technically unusual since it was already fragmented in Chapter 6. The second and more probable option is that someone is actively manipulating it. To understand this, we must look back to the beginning of the season and the TV set near Jones, which displayed a coded message that we managed to decipher. This message was sent directly from the last reality and appeared to activate various anomalies, such as the Golden Fever or the Stick of Truth itself. But it could also explain these uncontrolled storm patterns. Regardless, we cannot know with absolute certainty, though the smartest member of the 7 could surely confirm it. The Order laments that she wishes the scientist were present, as his intellect would be invaluable, but she resigns herself to pressing forward regardless. In fact, it is likely that the entity who sent the message to Jones's TV was not the Voyager himself, but someone superior to him, as the message was presumably directed at the Dark Voyager. Another member who caught the entire community by surprise was the Lynx, directly referred to as the Dark Lynx. As seen in the loading screen, she is working directly with the Voyager, although it appears she is infiltrated within the OG mode reality, likely searching for the original 0 point, which should be uncovered soon in Season 8. Conversely, the Voyager has remained on the new island to gather the various 0 point shards. Although Jones is fully aware of these machinations, he still warns us that we are not prepared to attack and must wait. This hesitation could be confirmation that he has alerted the 7 and is awaiting their arrival. Or conversely, he is plotting a scheme with Hope that will undoubtedly lead us to a final showdown against the Dark Voyager. This event is not officially confirmed or even leaked, but as you can see, all narrative threads point to its imminent arrival. I'm pretty sure anyone who just jumped back into Fortnite this season has no clue what's going on. The 7, the movie set, the simulation, yeah, I get it, it's a lot. For the past few years, so many organizations have popped up in Fortnite. You wouldn't have enough hands to count them all. Some of them played a huge role in the game's history, while others are still driving the storyline forward. So, it's time to figure out what happened to some of the most powerful groups on the island, where the imagined order disappeared to, where the Seven are now, and why the last reality will definitely make their presence known again. I think a lot of rookies who first logged into Fortnite in Chapter 7 or 6 haven't even heard of the Imagined Order, but these guys were terrorizing loopers for several years. The Order actually became the very first organization we got to know. Back then, we didn't know about all the members of the Seven, and the mysterious corporation that ruled the entire island was called the Government. As we later found out, the secret government is the Imagined Order, or to be more precise, an organization controlled by the order that was needed, so the big shots wouldn't get their hands dirty. Basically, it was a kind of link between the loopers and the Order itself. But after the events of Chapter 3, Season 2, when we managed to thwart Gino's plans to reboot the loop, these guys just vanished. But where? They probably ran off to stock up on bundles and V-Bucks using my creator code, of course. Anyway, if you look at the Zero War comic, which was written in collaboration with Marvel, some details fall into place. After the island flip, which was necessary to defeat the Cube Queen, the Imagined Order ended up on the flip side. To not lose such a great chance to deal with the loopers once and for all, Sloane threw all her forces into seizing the island, and she actually succeeded in the initial stages. However, over time, we were still able to reclaim key locations, cornering the Order at their base. But Gino had his own ace up his sleeve, the Collider, which they almost launched, but it didn't work out. Together with the Paradigm and her mecha, we destroyed 99% of the Imagined Order combat power. The situation with Gino is even more interesting, and if you haven't read the comic, you might think he never even appeared in the Fortnite story. As it turned out, he was also at the Collider during the event, where his daughters, the Mirage and the Order, fought him. While the Order managed to survive the fight, her sister and their dad were literally atomized by the Zero Point's epicenter. The story of the Imagined Order basically ends in the Zero War arc. This is hinted at by the words of the Foundation, who said that their worst enemy was gone forever, and now the island could live peacefully. If only the Seven knew what a mess they would stir up later, they would have thought twice about freeing the Zero Point. In short, to put it in super simple terms, for several thousand years, the Imagined Order kept the Zero Point under their control to manage the loop and protect it from any problems. These guys literally decided what loot loopers would get and how the storm would move in the next match. But with the defeat of the Order, the Seven freed the Zero Point, essentially destroying the loop, and that's when all hell broke loose. So, Chapter 3, Season 2 was the last time we directly encountered the Order. Although, since then, mentions of these guys have occasionally surfaced in the Zero War comic. If you read it to the end, you can find out that Gino isn't dead at all, but is planning his return to the island, and he's apparently planning it very, very meticulously, since 2 whole years have passed since the promised continuation of his story. Since we've already touched upon the Seven, it's time to talk about the most mysterious crew in Fortnite history. The story of the Seven remains the most confusing right now, as it's impossible to say exactly what happened to the legendary squad that saved the island. The Seven were actually the ones who initiated this storyline. Who would have thought that launching a visitor's rocket in would lead to us now fighting a dark presence who crawled out of Spirit Realm after beating up Godzilla and Kong? But that's beside the point, because throughout 3 whole chapters, the identities of all 7 members were gradually revealed to us. I still remember how we speculated about who would be next in this group, and how they would be introduced into the story. It was such a cliffhanger that when the Foundation appeared during the Zero Point crisis, the whole community was literally on edge. But how did it happen that the Seven disappeared all at once? And they disappeared so completely that we haven't heard from them for 2 years now. Yep, 2 years have passed. I suggest we go through each member of the legendary team to figure out who has a chance to return, and who has probably left us forever. I think I should start with the Visitor, whom we've known the longest. The community still speculates that Donald Mustard himself is hiding behind the mask of that spacesuit. The Visitor was absorbed by the Chrome and most likely ended up imprisoned in the last reality, but then returned to Fortnite OG in the summer of 2025. A similar fate befell the Scientist and the Origin, who were unlucky enough to be in the Chrome study lab. In just a couple of seconds, they literally turned into a shiny goo, and after that, their fate remained unknown. It's entirely possible that the last reality managed to turn them into their puppets, but there's no confirmation of that either. The situation with the Foundation is even more interesting. We literally don't know what happened to him or where he went after he and Jonesy managed to defeat Gino and then return to the island. Any mention of the Foundation has literally vanished from the storyline. So it's very difficult to talk about his fate right now, but I would venture to guess that he was also absorbed by the Chrome at some point and is now chilling out somewhere on the last reality's flying saucer. The Paradigm is probably the most tragic of all the 7. Not only did she have to save the island from the Chrome invasion alone, but she also sacrificed her life for the Loopers. Her last words indicated that she initiated some kind of merge to rebuild the island. Most likely, the merge is a connection of realities, because as we remember, the Chapter 4 map literally looked like a patchwork quilt of different pieces, and there's a huge probability that the Paradigm actually died after the final event. The two sisters, the Imagined and the Order and Mirage, share a similar fate. Mirage was literally atomized, scattered across 1,000,000 dimensions. In that regard, the Order was the luckiest of them all. After losing her sister during the Zero War, she realized she no longer wanted to be a part of the 7 and left the team. In fact, Order is already appeared on Chapter 7 Island. So, what do we have in the end? 4 people are imprisoned by the last reality, 2 are dead, and 1 is missing.